Everything's good. Let's get the bearings and seals put in. Alright folks, welcome back to another episode of Odyssey Life. I'm Bernie. This is the Odyssey Life Workshop, and I'm super excited that you stopped by today, because today we have an Fl350 video. That's right, we're going to go ahead, we're going to do our best to rip apart our drivetrain today. Most importantly, get access to our bearing housings on our rear end, so we can go ahead and do a bearing and seal kit on both sides. Should be awesome, should be pretty quick. New news, since I haven't seen you guys in a couple weeks, we are starting an Fl250 tune-up kit giveaway, guys. We got a unifilter, NGK coil wire, and 2 plugs, all courtesy of Joe from OdysseyTV. And all we got to do is hit 400 subscribers, guys. The last I checked, we only need 41 more. So if you're a member of the Odyssey Life Facebook page and you're not a subscriber of the Odyssey Life YouTube channel, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, get in on the action, get yourself an Fl250 tune-up kit sponsored by our proud sponsor, Joe from OdysseyTV. Yeah, guys, just so you're not confused, we do an Fl250 video, and then alternating weeks we do an Fl350 video, because the last 3 out of the 4 Fl350 videos we did ended in an accident. We're going to take today, we're going to maintenance our machine, because we definitely want to keep our machine running. But don't forget about our Fl250 GT250 giveaway, also sponsored by our proud sponsor Joe from OdysseyTV. We will be giving this buggy away. I've been getting a lot of questions in the comments and on the Odyssey Life Facebook page. How do I enter the giveaway? Go ahead, subscribe to the Odyssey Life YouTube channel for eventually your chance to win the GT250 themed after the 1967 Mustang GT 500, guys. We're super excited. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Drivetrain, bearings, seals, Fl350. Let's get to work, guys. So I've got our jack stands. We're gonna get this up so we can pop them back tires off. Alright, now that we got her up on jack stands, let's pop these tires off. Now that we have the 2 rear tires off, let me show you what we're going to be installing today. We're going to be installing new rear bearings and seals, and to accomplish that, we're going to have to take off our rear trailing arms, which are these bad boys right here, these gold things. We'll be disconnecting them from here and then taking the bolts out at the bottom, all 4, taking the hub off, removing the center nut and the cotter pin. This is called the bearing housing. There's 2 bearings and 2 seals. We did take 2 significant hits in the rear end, so we're going to go ahead, we're going to pull off one at a time, keeping one together while we have one apart, so we know how we took it apart, and we can always take a look to see how we can put it back together. Alright gentlemen, let's get busy. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to remove this cotter pin, we're going to remove this center nut, which, let me get that cotter pin out of the way first. You guys know I hate cotter pins. Alright gentlemen, this center nut is a 27 millimeter. We happen to have that arbor on our impact already. let's go ahead, pull that center nut off. Well, that came off pretty nice. Let's pull our hub off. Nice and tight, just how we like it, gentlemen. That hub's in good shape. It's not bent, it's not broke. All right, let me get you readjusted so we can go ahead and pull the top housing 4 bolts off. Okay, folks, now we're set to remove our 4 upper mount bolts that hold our trailing arm in place. After that, it's just 2 more bolts, the shock mount bolt and the trailing mount bolt itself, or the trailing arm mount bolt itself. All right, don't forget it's 17mm on top, 19mm on the bottom. Don't forget your safety glasses. All right, let's do this. That one on the back side fell out. For some reason, that one on the back side is upside down. So we're going to remember that one. Now we're not going to mess with any of our adjustments up here. We're not going to turn out our heim joint or anything. We're not going to turn out any of these. We're going to leave this hooked up, hopefully. All right, that's our 4 bolts, guys. I'm gonna go ahead, put the nuts back on the bolts so we don't lose them. So the last process, or the last step in the process of removing the trailing arm from all its contact points in the rear here, is to remove the shock mount, the lower shock mount bolt. And the outside bolt is a 22mm, while the inside bolt is a 19mm. So we're going to go ahead, use our impact, undo these 2 so we can then move the shock out of the way, so then we can disconnect our trailing arm from the frame. Let's do this. Let's give her a little tap. There we go. Don't want to damage anything. There we go. Very minimal tapping. All right, guys. Now that we got this bolt and the nut off, we're ready to remove our shock mount and bolt. So let me get you repositioned for that so I can show you the axle coming out of the bearing housing. All right, so last step at removing our trailing arm is removing it from the frame right here, and that is also a 22mm. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna hold on to it while I remove this bolt. We're gonna go ahead and leave the bolt in there. Let me get you set up for us to pull that out and you can see the whole process. Let's remove this now. There we go, gentlemen. Now let's get this up on the bench. I meant let's get it up on the vise. As you can see, I've only got it halfway in. We're all set up here. We got the rear trailing arm in the vise. We got 2 wooden blocks. We're gonna go ahead and punch that bearing and seal out from this side down. And then we're going to match it up with the bearing and seal we have on the bench. After we do that, so we don't get confused, we're going to go ahead, flip this around, and then pound this bearing and seal out down through the other side. All right, let me get you set up for the action. All right, guys, let me get my long punch. Here's the seal pop out, guys. Let's tap out. And plus, tool has a rounded tip on it, so you're less likely to dig into your bearing housing. There we go. There's our bearing. We did dent it up a little bit on the way out, but as I said, it's better than getting our bearing housing. Let's flip this bad boy over. Let's get the other side out. Let's tap out this bearing. There went our seal, guys. Couple more whacks and our bearing will come right out. Here it comes. And there's our bearing, guys. These are the original bearings, and we'll get our new bearings and seals in. Okay, folks, before we get started putting this new bearing in, I'm going to take this Scotch-Brite pad and I'm going to go around the inside of our bearing housing just to clean out anything that might be in there, any debris. Plus, we just want to lightly knock off any burrs. And these Scotch-Brite pads, even though they don't appear so, they do take off microscopic layers of metal. Because if I sat here and rubbed this all day, I would rub it absolutely polished. I'm going to go ahead and just go around the inside of this bearing housing here. This is the first one we took off, so we already have our bearing and seal already marked. These are not tapered bearings, and they're sealed bearings, so it looks like we don't have to pack them. For the life of me, I tried to find my my bearing installation kit with those round little discs, but I couldn't find them, and I was looking in the Fl350 manual, and it was showing us that we needed a 52 and a 55 millimeter bearing punch set, and I found that our Fl250 J-arm bushing, this is the best thing I could find, is actually the correct diameter for both of these. So we're going to use our Fl250 or J-arm bushing to put our new bearing and seal in. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put a little bit of lubricant to help that bearing slide down in there. We're going to set her in there, get her started straight. It should be fine, gentlemen. There we go, gentlemen. Our bearing just popped right in. Now we can go ahead, we can take our new seal, sit that on there, take our little board, pop our seal in. There we go, gentlemen. Our seal is seated on this side. Let's go ahead, flip it over, do the other side. Now we're ready for reassembly. Okay folks, so reassembly is disassembly backwards. Also, I wanted to tell you, at the end of your drive shaft, there's a tiny little O-ring that goes right back here on the very back of the drive shaft. It sits in a little groove, and it came off with the hub. Yep. There's a groove right on the back of on the inside of the hub. We'll go ahead and clean that little groove out so our little O-ring can do its job. Alright, and also you're going to want a new cotter pin for this job. Don't forget that. So okay, let's get this put back together. I'm going to start with our pine joint end back into the frame to support it on that end, so it'll be supported when we put it on this side. So let's get to it. Alright guys, that's bearings and seals. We're really excited. So I'll go ahead and do the other side because it's all repetitive. Alright folks, what did you think of that? That wasn't that bad, was it? Just a little bearing and seal kit. I had a good time doing it. That job is only about a, let's say 30 to 45 minute job depending on how easy your hardware comes apart. In the meantime, don't forget about our Fl250 giveaway, guys. When we get this thing all done and put back together with all the new parts and engine, tranny, tires, rims, plastics, wheels, all that stuff, we're going to be giving this bad boy away. And all these parts that we use today, link in the description, were all supplied by odysseylifebybernie.com. We're super grateful for Joe, and we're super grateful for the job that he does. Joe was a little under the weather the past couple weeks, but he's feeling a lot better, and he's getting around and getting stuff done. So yeah, we're really super grateful for Joe from ODTV. You're a premier place for Fl250 and 350 parts. So guys, I guess until next weekend, I'm going to be finishing up this rear end, getting it all put back together. So I'll be having fun. See you soon.